fun over the last 30 minutes and put in some hefty plays on the Arizona Wildcats. So everything you need is right here. But the staff is terrific, and the service is second to none. A lot of good people here that work at Spirit Mountain. So come down and join me. Giveaways around 3:30 to 3:45. And then later on tonight, this is what they're doing during the month of April, which is pretty cool. They have daily drawings for different amounts of free play. And the top prize winner from each daily drawing is going to be brought back at the end of the month for an opportunity to win a brand new 2026 Stingray, which they have parked just over yonder. I can see it from here, and that's pretty awesome. Brand new Stingray Corvette, and you're going to have a chance to win that. They'll bring back all 30. Each 30 winners, top winners from each day of the month, will come back at the end of the month. They're each going to pick a key, and one of those keys will be the magical key that unlocks the Stingray Corvette. So they're doing that through the month, spring into the driver's seat. That's going on, and then tomorrow they'll have the table game side bet drawings for different sweet prizes as well. So that's going on Sundays in the month of April. Every day they're doing the daily drawings for the Stingray Corvette. And, of course, we got the Final Four action right now going on inside the sportsbook. And that first game will tip off here in almost exactly 3 hours. But really excited about the Trailblazers. You know, what a week it was because, you know, we've been talking about this for years when Paul Allen passed away, that the trust had the directive from Allen to have the team eventually sold. They were going to liquidate his assets, his holdings, and be able to donate a sizable chunk to different charities that were important to Paul. So we knew the team was going to be sold, and it took a long time to get to that point. But now we have a new ownership group. Tom Dundon, who is based out of Dallas, also owns the Carolina Hurricanes, has put together a group called Rip City Rising, and they took over official control of the team this week. And what a sweet week it was for Dundon and his crew, because they went down to L.A. and had a chance to watch the Blazers beat the Clippers in one of their best games of the season on the first day when they were officially in control. Then the team got a day off. On Thursday, they had the press conference at 3 to officially welcome Tom Dundon and his ownership group to town. And then they went out that night and handled business against the Pelicans, and then got some much-needed help from the Spurs, who took out the Clippers. So the Blazers, in the matter of like 3 days, are now in solo position in the 8th spot in the Western Conference playoff standings, which means they would be in the 7-8 playing game, which is ideal because you get 2 games to win 1, and then you become a part of the postseason lineup in the West. So it couldn't have gone better the week for the Trailblazers, and now they got 4 games remaining. 2 on the road that are coming up at Denver, at San Antonio, 2 of the hottest teams in basketball. The 2 teams are going to face off today at Ball Arena in the Mile High City. And then after that, they come back home for the all-important game, which is probably going to mean everything. They host the Clippers next Friday, so less than a week away now from that titanic matchup. And then they finish out next Sunday, a week from tomorrow, against the Sacramento Kings at Moda Center. So what I'm trying to say is that everything the Trailblazers could possibly want is right there in front of them. They're at 40-38. They're going to have more than likely a winning record this year, and we're seeing progress now from year to year. And the young core is continuing to produce. Scoot Henderson is showing flashes. Donovan Klingen's been dominant over the last couple of months. Tamani Kamara is really rounding into form. And Denny Avdia is back to being healthy and aggressive and attacking the rim. And we're seeing a lot of positive signs, which is great. Are they perfect? No. Are they playing better basketball now? Yes. They're 9-3 in their last 12. They've done a good job of handling business against teams they should handle business against. And then everything balances out. You drop a game to Dallas last week you should have won, and then you go on the road and beat the Clippers in a game you probably should have lost. You were underdogs, and they get the win there. It all balances out. But the Blazers are playing better basketball over the last couple of games, and that's what you want. You want them to be playing their best basketball as they near the play-in tournament, because you're going to need that. You're going to face the Suns more than likely, and you're probably going to get a rematch with the Clippers if you don't beat the Suns. So 2 quality opponents they're going to be facing, and they could be looking at a Clippers rematch and playing the Clippers like 3 times in like a week and a half. And that's tough when they got Kawhi Leonard. But I'm excited about it, man. It's going to be fun. And it's nice to have the team in a playoff race. We're going to get a taste of the postseason with the play-in tournament and possibly a first-round series, which would be pretty cool. The downside is whether they're the 7 or the 8 seed in the Western Conference playoffs, they're going to play either San Antonio or Oklahoma City, you know, the 2 best teams in the NBA. So difficult matchups, but that's what you want. You want these young guys, the young core, to get a taste of what it's like to play in the postseason, to play in bigger moments, bigger games, to know what it takes to prepare and how to succeed in those situations where a team has taken a full week to game plan and prepare for you. You know, playoff basketball is not even close to the same as regular season basketball. The preparation, the intensity, the attention to detail, the way teams can expose your weaknesses, and if you don't stop something, they'll keep coming after you. And that's the beauty of it. So a lot of great opportunities for these young guys to grow and learn how to operate. All right, we'll keep things rolling. So Justin Bouncer is going to stop by at 2:20. We'll hear from Dan Dickau at 1:20 and get his take on the Final Four. But coming up next, we're going to dive into the ownership group, Rip City Rising with Tom Dundon. Sean Highkin, we'll hear from him, his thoughts on the press conference, which he thought the group won, and get his take on what we should expect and some of the interesting things that came out from Thursday. Telephone number 503-248-0620. I'm going to be live on air until 3 here at Spirit Mountain Casino. Come down and join me. The first game will tip off just after 3, and I've got giveaways at around 3:30 to 3:45. This is the best place to take in the action, your place to bet on college sports, Spirit Mountain Casino. 503-248-0620. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday special edition of the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive. We're going to hear from Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, here in just a couple of moments, and break down the new ownership group. I'm pretty excited, man. Ever since I moved out here, what was that, 1987? I mean, Paul Allen bought the team in 88 for like 80 mil. He ended up selling it for $4.25 billion. Is that a good investment? I'm not a financial guy, but that seems like that worked out pretty well for Paul Allen and his family. But it's been one ownership group, and so this really is a new era in Trailblazer basketball to have a new group in. And again, I've talked about this, but I'll mention it again. Jody Allen did as good of a job as she could have considering the situation she was in. The job of a trust is to, prepare things for the eventual sale of the team and going out and finding a new owner. That's the number one job. So what happens is that your focus as a trust becomes on the here and now, focusing on getting things ready, preparing everything for the eventual sale. Like, you've got to prepare your group to make things happen. So you're not really locked in and focused on the future because it's not going to be your team. And so you don't want a trust to run and operate your team for an extended period of time. And so that's why it's a reason of celebration. And if you just go back to the basic definition of, if you're a sports fan, and I know many of you are, you love your teams. We love the Trailblazers. You want your team to have an owner that wants to win, and I have no doubts in my mind that Tom Dundon wants to win basketball games. He wants to win. He wants to make sure that he puts his best foot forward to make it happen. And then on top of that, wanting to win is not enough. You've got to be willing to put your resources in a position to make that happen. It's an expensive endeavor to own and operate a professional sports team because there's a lot of cost involved, especially when it comes to paying players. But if you want to win, you've got to be willing to spend. And I believe he is that. So my basic definition, do you want to win and have a strong desire to do so? And are you willing to put your resources forward to make that happen? I believe he is. Paul Allen certainly was. And so I think the Blazers are better today than they were 3 or 4 days ago because they now have that singular focus. They have someone in charge who's going to be making decisions that will do everything that they can to make things happen. Now, it doesn't mean that things are going to happen overnight. It doesn't mean that, he's going to bat 1,000. We got to remember that, because you don't. Ownership groups, there's no guarantee, right? Like it takes time, and you've got to make good decisions. But what I do like is that he wants, his people. He's going to empower his people to make decisions, but he wants them to make decisions with the best information possible. And I think that's great. So you look at the situation. You know what you've got, and you want to make sure that you make the right decisions with as much information as possible. I think that's critical. And so I'm pretty excited about that. And I just want you to hear this. This is Tom Dundon's opening message at the press conference from a couple of days ago.
I think the main message for us right now is franchise hasn't had as much success in the past few years as it did historically. And I think our expectation is that's starting to change and will continue to change. So I think the focus that's been the last few years around development, which is now around winning, right? And so we've tried to get this message through the last couple of days that was fun and probably necessary, but it's more fun to win and it's more fun to do the things that lead to success. And hopefully we'll start creating more habits that those processes lead to the kind of winning that I expect and I think everybody expects. I want to thank the family that sold us this team did a really nice job, and it gets uncomfortable sometimes talking about what we want to do next. So I really appreciate everything the Allen family did. They've built this building is pretty neat, right? Like when you walk around it needs some work, but it's still something we can be proud of and then improve upon. And that's how I feel about everything they've done. Like they've created this legacy that now, with a little love and care, maybe we can keep making better and better. We spent some time with Joe and Dwayne and the people that work for the Trailblazers, and we're very fortunate. It's a really good group of people. They care. There's nothing I don't think we can accomplish if we just start focusing on a little bit of improvement every day. And I feel like all the pieces are here. There's not something I'm worried about. Now it's just The only thing I'm kind of worried about is the speed and pace and intensity at which we're about to get going might be a little different, and we just got to get people there quickly. I didn't grow up, set out, or intend to be in this position, so I want everybody to understand I know how lucky I am. It's the responsibility to make sure fans and the community are proud of what we do. And like I say, part of that's winning, but it's also how you treat your fans, how long it takes to get in the building, what the food tastes like. All these things are important, and I probably think about them more than most, and we won't stop thinking about it ever. We will continue to try to make the experience here great while we're expecting to win, and hopefully you'll see that over time. The last thing is I couldn't have done this without a couple of my partners that are here, and I'm really thankful to them. And I think as a group, we should be pretty powerful. So,
all right, there he is, Tom Dundon, with his opening statement at the press conference, and we'll hear more from that as well. I'm here at Spirit Mountain Casino getting ready for the Final Four, which will kick off just after 3 o'clock. I've got giveaways for 3:30 to 3:45, but this is the ultimate place. The Sportsbook is open seating, cushy chairs, great place to hang out and watch the games. So make this your destination spot for the Final Four, and then we got the title game on Monday, and all of the action you could possibly want right here at Spirit Mountain Casino. Justin Ballinger will join me coming up at 2:20, and we'll go inside the numbers and talk about the matchups and figure out what the best bets are for the games coming up today. Our Trailblazer Insider from Rose Garden Report, fresh off of the introductory press conference for the Rip City Rising Group and the new owner, Tom Dundon, as they officially have control of the team. Was that a packed house down there in the Rose Room?
I don't think I've ever seen that many people in one room. It wasn't just, like, it was a press conference, and we were the ones that were asking questions, but, like, all of the top, executives, both on the basketball side, the business side, just kind of support staff, like, everybody that you've ever, like, met in the organization was pretty much in the building.
Yeah, that was great. What were your initial impressions just overall of the press conference and the way the group presented themselves?
Well, I mean, you kind of see the difference between, the two main investors, or the two main, front-facing people that are going to be part of the ownership group. Tom Dundon gets the mic first. He sits down and he just says, "Hey, it's good to meet you guys. The message I sent to everybody is that we're not good enough. We need to get better," basically. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that. He just kind of went right to the chase. Whereas Sheil Tile, who also talked, and he's, we've talked about him before, he's the Portland-based guy. He's a venture capitalist. His wife is the head of the Oregon Health Authority, and he's the one that kind of has connections here in Portland and is like the locally based one. His speech was a lot more, his opening remarks was a lot more like, a politician or a political candidate trying to, like, bring everybody together and reassure. It's kind of a good cop, bad cop dynamic and I think that's probably going to be what the case is going to be once this ownership group really gets going. So I thought that dynamic was kind of interesting.
Yeah, because Sheil was very much, hey, I love sport. It brings everyone together.
Yeah, and he also is the one that has said, that he would not have bought into this group if there was a chance they were going to move the team from Portland. That was one of my other takeaways. I've been saying literally since the day that the estate put the team up for sale last May that I was never even for a second worried about the team moving, and I feel pretty vindicated in that.
Yeah, let's listen to that right now. This is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Dundon, and then Sheil jumps in at the end, but he was asked if the team's going to remain in Portland.
It's interesting how when I bought the hockey team, everybody, because I was from Texas, I was going to move the team to Houston. It's all I ever heard about, but I never spent any time on that subject. And I haven't spent any time on anything other than trying to figure out the renovation and the lease, and it's kind of all I've focused on. So anybody who would, you're welcome to write what you want, because if we get attention for the Portland Trailblazers, I appreciate it. But at this time, all I'm focused on is how do we get a lease done and how do we get the building renovated.
And I'll just add, Tom would not have asked me to join this group had that been on the table. And so I just want you guys to know, we're optimistic people. We met with the mayor today. We know that the state has done some amazing work on this also. We're full speed ahead.
All right, what's interesting there is that Dundon is going to remain on that question right now.
Yeah.
He's still negotiating.
Yeah.
So he's going to remain a little kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
But Sheil is like, look, man, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be here if we were. And it's full speed ahead.
Yeah, that's so that dynamic was pretty fun. There were a couple of other major takeaways. One, the only player on the Blazers' current roster that was mentioned by name was when Andrew Charing from Panda Express, who was also up there, was asked why he was interested in investing in the group.
Yeah.
And he said on the record flat out that he liked the fact they had a Chinese player, Young Hansen.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much why he got involved.
well, yeah, and I mean I mean, look, if you're a guy who is from China and is the founder of a pretty, major, multinational, Chinese food, like fast food chain, has the most money of anybody in this ownership group in terms of actual net worth, him and his wife Peggy. And you have an opportunity to buy into a team that has a player from China and you see like how popular Young Hansen is and what it's done for the Blazers on the business side. That's a pretty good investment opportunity for him. So I thought that was interesting that came up in the thing, or in the press conference. I thought, one thing I think the thing I liked the most about Dundon and what he said is that I think there's some awareness from him that when he bought the Hurricanes, that organization and that front office and that team needed to just be completely torn down to the studs and built back up and completely cleaned house. Whereas I think he understands that the Blazers have a pretty good staff in place, at least on the basketball side, and that there's not really a whole lot he needs to do. He's not going to just come in and fire everyone and just immediately like tear the whole thing down. Like that's not really what he's in.
It sounded like he was pleasantly surprised at the operation.
Yeah, I mean I've gotten the vibe for a little bit now that, I mean, obviously there's going to be some changes on the particularly like on the business side, and we've talked about some concerns we have about the broadcast. Like there's going to be some costs that are cut somewhere. I've always kind of thought that the basketball ops side of things is not going to really be changed that much, because I think from just a personal like GM job security standpoint, if you're Joe, you can go to him and say, look, I identified Denny Avdia as somebody being undervalued and traded for him, and he became an all-star. I got a lot of stuff in the Dame trade. I got Toumani Camara, and I repaired the relationship with Dame, and now he's back, and our salary cap situation is set up. And then, you look at his staff and, guys like Mike Schmitz, Sergio Oliva, Andre Patterson, Asia Jones, they all, it's a pretty good case. Like, Joe has a big staff, but they have a good staff of people that work hard and, like, have defined roles, and it makes sense to have it. And I also, like, so there's that part of, like, I've never really thought that there was much of a chance that Joe was going to be out, and I think that even more now. I thought the Tiago Splitter, the coaching answer was interesting. He said that, he didn't commit to Tiago.
Here it is right now. He was asking about
it.
I think Tiago's done a really good job, and the team is sitting here with sort of this opportunity, and we'll get more information every day. But so far, he's done a great job, and I'm curious to see how this goes from here, because my expectations are I want to win.
So that sounded to me like if the Blazers make the playoffs, they're not going to fire Tiago. That's kind of that was how I read that. I thought that was real interesting. So that's going to make it because like, it's kind of a push-pull thing, because like, obviously if you're Tiago, like as a coach, you want to win every game you have. If you're the front office, like, I think the Blazers organization is going to be pretty happy to have whichever way it goes. Like, as far as, making the playoffs and getting the experience or keeping the lottery pick. And, we've talked about that being kind of a win-win before.
A win-win, yep. That's why I see it.
I know Joe. I haven't talked to Joe about this directly, but I know Joe quite well and know him for a long time, obviously. And knowing him, I think if you really made him tell the truth about which of those outcomes he prefers, I think he'd probably rather have the lottery pick.
Yeah.
But then you've got Tiago up there basically, being told through Tom Dundon, like, if you make the playoffs, we'll probably, you have a good chance of sticking. So I thought that was interesting that was all just kind of up there. He could have been a lot less complimentary of Tiago if he could have just said, well, we'll see what, we'll see what the, what we do at the end of the season. He came up and said, look, Tiago has done a great job, and we, have this opportunity. So he didn't make it sound like he's like set on one way or the other with that. So those are all just some like takeaways. I'm kind of going a million miles a minute here because I'm still kind of processing everything that happened. But yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised he didn't have too much to say on the funding for the arena project and so forth.
Yeah.
Because they are just now, and he even mentioned it before, as you and I had talked about, right, where he couldn't be too involved before the ownership
Right.
was done and he was confirmed, because it would have been improper for him to have too much influence. Although I'm sure he was communicated with behind back channels. But I think now that he's out in front of it, we'll probably start getting more updates on that, don't you think, over the next few months?
Oh, yeah. One thing that I thought was interesting was him saying that he wants to get the renovation started as soon as possible.
Yes.
We know for a fact. Here's the thing. Like, and this kind of, I don't know how much like he knew this or it slipped his mind. They cannot do the renovations this summer because the Fire are playing their inaugural season. And I know for a fact that when the WNBA was awarding Portland an expansion team, part of the agreement was that they'd be able to play their inaugural season at Moda before they got bumped over to the Coliseum during the renovations. So it's not possible for them to do real, like, they can maybe do some like stuff outside the arena if they really want to get started on that stuff, but any of the real big stuff during the, that's going to like shut down the building, you can't really do that in the summer because this summer, because the Fire have like already sold the building and sold tickets for those games, and they're locked in to play their first season here. But that's why 27, 28, 29 was kind of the plan before.
All right. Anything before we go to the Clipper game? Is there anything else that's on your mind with the press conference that you want to talk about?
I thought it was interesting that he talked about wanting to develop real estate around the arena, which is something
He called it a hobby of his.
Yeah, that's what he's doing,
which is good.
That's what he's doing in Carolina. I mean, you look at the area around this building, like I've gone to, I've been doing a lot of road games during this season. The one that sticks out to me particularly was about a month and a half ago. I was in Phoenix for that game against the Suns right after the All-Star break. And right downtown, there's like a whole sports district where like the Suns arena and the Diamondbacks, the ballpark that the Diamondbacks play in. And there's a football stadium. I don't know if it's the Cardinals or ASU, but like there is because I don't know off the top of my head.
No, it's ASU. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know where the Cardinals play, but there's like a football stadium, there's a ballpark, and there's a basketball arena, like within 2 blocks of each other, and like all around that whole area, there's like restaurants and bars and stores and apartment. There's all this stuff around there, and it's like the whole thing is walkable. The hotel I stayed at out there was like, 10 blocks from the arena. It was just like the whole thing. It was like a whole district, and I think you look at this Rose Quarter campus. There's the arena, there's Dr. Jack's outside, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And I think there's like an opportunity there to do some stuff.
Well, I know for a fact, and I can't give up any of the names or the specifics because I was sworn to secrecy, but I do know that there are already plans that are being discussed for how this area can be revitalized.
Yeah.
Making it a destination spot. And I'm talking about above and beyond the arena improvements. I'm talking about great ideas, like really smart people that know Dundon that are working feverishly to get some things done. And they're grandiose, and it would be great because then it would make this area around Moda Center a natural destination point for people, which is cool. So I'm excited because I know that there are some smart business types that are working hard to make that happen.
Yeah,
and when you combine that with his real estate background, it just makes sense.
Yeah, I think this press conference went. I mean, obviously, they want. I would say, you always talk about like, oh, somebody's winning the press conference, but what are they going to do? They did win the press conference.
They did.
Though. Like, I don't think there was. I think all of the reporters in the room did a good job asking the questions that needed to be asked. I don't think there was any questions that somebody asked where I was like, yeah, I don't know if that one was necessary. But like, I feel like everybody did their jobs. I feel like nobody said anything totally out of pocket about like, oh, I did like Tom's honesty about, he was asked why Portland and why the Blazers, and he's like, well, my accountant told me there was an NBA team for sale, so I just said let's buy it. Like, he didn't try to lie and say, oh yeah, no, I have this real affinity for Portland and I really believe, and like,
no,
he was just
an opportunity.
It was a business opportunity, but he also, and that's why I think it's important that somebody like Shield got brought into the ownership group, because he actually does have the connection with the city, and he lives here, and his wife works in the government, in the Oregon Health Authority, and it's like that's kind of the more friendly face of the guy that's actually going to be around every day, and the guy that is on the record saying he's committed to making sure the team stays here. Like, so I think it's kind of a good balance that they got.
He was honest too. He's like, he didn't lie and say he's going to be here at every game. He's like I don't like to watch games.
Well, he isn't at every Hurricanes game. He lives in Dallas. He goes to Raleigh for business stuff. But no, when I did that long thing about his, background running the Hurricanes, one of the things he said in a lot of those interviews is that he doesn't like to go to games because he gets too stressed out. Which
Yeah.
some owners are like.
Jerry West couldn't even sit and watch a game. He had to watch from the tunnel.
Some owners like Paul Allen was always sitting courtside back when he was alive, and then like somebody like Mark Cuban or Steve Ballmer, they're always like very visible and they're very out there. Dundon doesn't seem like he's going to be like drawing attention to himself during
He said he didn't want you all taking pictures of his face
exactly
because he's freaking out or stressed out at the game, which is funny.
That's
because we see Mark Cuban would go crazy.
Yeah, him and Ballmer are like the two that are
red-faced Ballmer.
Yeah.
All right, hope you enjoyed that breakdown from Sean Hyken on the Rip City Rising ownership group as the Blazers now with new direction, no longer a rudderless ship with the trust in place. They've got direction. They've got someone that wants to win, and I think it's great. I'm here at Spirit Mountain Casino hanging out in the BetMGM Sportsbook. And this Nuggets-Spurs NBA game right now is absurd. 41-36 Spurs with 34 seconds to play in the opening quarter. And so far there's been 9 made threes between the two teams. And the pace is pretty frightening. Up and down, up and down. And we just saw Wembanyama with accidental hand contact to Jokic's face, bringing some blood to the nose. But this pace and the up and down and back and forth nature is pretty awesome. All right, so come down and join me. First game in the Final Four will tip off just after 3. We're going to hear from Dan Dickau, and then Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager, will join me at 2:20. And I'll have giveaways. I've got goodies because I care about people. We'll give those away around 3:30, 3:45. So come on down and join us here where the action never stops. Parlays, teasers, totals, sides, in-game wagering on the kiosk machines, futures, whatever you want is here. And it's a great place to hang out and relax with the open seating and the cushy chairs and take in the Final Four. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Special Saturday edition of the Rip City Drive live from Spirit Mountain Casino on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Boy, nice pool shack. I haven't heard this song in a long time. Live here at Spirit Mountain Casino inside the BetMGM Sportsbook, getting ready for the Final Four. Game 1 with Illinois and UConn will tip off at just after 3 o'clock. And right now the Illini, a 1.5-point favorite. The nightcapper will be Michigan and Arizona. Right now the Wolverines, like the Illini, a 1.5-point favorite. Justin Ballinger will join me coming up at 2:20 to break down the games and go inside the numbers. We're going to hear from Dan Dickau and get his thoughts on the tournament and the Final Four as well. I want to go over these schedules for the Trailblazers and Clippers so that you understand what's at stake and how things are going to play out in the final week of the NBA regular season. Right now, the Spurs on top of the Nuggets in Denver, 49-39 early in the second quarter. It's been quite the shooting display from both sides with an excellent pace. That game's on Amazon Prime. All right, so the Clippers have 5 games remaining, and the Trailblazers have 4. Right now, the Clippers are 39-38, and the Blazers are 40-38. So the Blazers have a half-game lead on the Clippers for the 8th spot in the Western Conference, and this is how it's going to work out. And I think the best way to do this is just to look at the games that remain for both teams on paper. For the Clippers, on paper, they're going to play at Sacramento tomorrow. Then they're home to face the Mavericks on Tuesday. They have the second of a back-to-back against the Oklahoma City Thunder on Wednesday. They're in Portland on Friday, and they play Golden State in a game coming up on Sunday in the final day of the regular season. So on paper, the Clippers should beat the Kings. They should beat the Mavericks, and then they should beat the Warriors. Those are 3 games they're going to be heavily favored in, and I would expect them to win all 3, which would put them at 42 wins. The Blazers have 4 games remaining, and on their schedule, they are at Denver on Monday, at San Antonio on Wednesday, home against the Clippers on Friday the 10th, and they finish out the season against the Kings at home. So on paper, the Trailblazers should beat the Kings, which would put them at 41 wins. The Clippers have 3 games remaining that they should win, which would put them at 42 wins. What that means is the game next Friday at Moda Center against the Clippers is going to be for all the marbles. Now, this could change if the Clippers or the Blazers win a game that we don't expect them to, but on paper, the Clippers would have 42 wins, the Blazers would have 41, and then we look at the game on Friday. If the Blazers were to beat the Kings in the finale and then beat the Clippers on Friday, April 10th at Moda Center, that would put both teams at 42 wins for the season, and the Blazers, based on evening up the season series with the Clippers, would have the tiebreak because of a conference tiebreaker. And that would give the Blazers the 8th spot in the Western Conference. So no matter how you slice it, the Blazers are going to have to beat the Clippers again, and that game's going to be on Friday. And that's really what it's going to come down to. Now, what I'm hoping is that the Blazers can find a way to scratch out a win in Denver or possibly a game at San Antonio. I don't expect it, but it would be great to see them, instead of limping into that game Friday against the Clippers, to surprise everyone and grab a game that no one expects them to win and come in with a lot of momentum. And so we'll see how things shake out. As we've talked about before, Denver has traditionally been one of the worst road trips for Portland in their franchise's history, in the top 5 of worst possible places for the Blazers to play in terms of win percentage. And they have not won a regular season game in Denver since 2016, early 2016. And then San Antonio right now, just absolutely one of the best teams in basketball. And they're playing in Denver right now against the Nuggets. So that's how it's going to shake out. The Blazers are going to have to beat the Clippers again, and they have to take care of business against the Kings in the regular season finale, and that should be enough to get the job done, assuming that the Clippers don't surprise everyone and win a game they're not supposed to against Oklahoma City. Like I said, for the Clippers, 5 games. Portland has 4. Sacramento, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Portland, and Golden State. They're going to win 3 of those games. The question is, are they going to win at Portland? So that's how it shakes out. And the advantage of being in the 7-8 playing game is you get 2 chances to win 1 game, and then you're going to be a part of the postseason and you'll face either the Spurs or the Thunder in the opening round. All right, we'll keep things rolling live from Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. Final Four coming up just after 3 o'clock. I'll have giveaways somewhere between 3:30 and 3:45. But come on down and join us. Big-time matchups. This is a great Final Four. UConn and Illinois in the first game, Michigan and Arizona in the second. If you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. We're going to hear from Dan Dickau at 1:20. Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager, joins me at 2:20. You got the Rip City Drive special Saturday edition here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, got a great game in the NBA right now. Second quarter, 54-42 Spurs on top of the Nuggets. They're playing at Ball Arena in Denver. A little NBA matinee action before the Final Four kicks off. I'm live at the BetMGM Sportsbook inside of Spirit Mountain Casino, and I'm here for the Final Four. First game will tip off just after 3, Illinois and UConn. Right now, the Illini are a 1.5-point favorite. The second game, Michigan and Arizona, a pair of 1 seeds, and right now, Michigan is a 1.5-point favorite. Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager, will break down the action for me coming up at 2:20. We're going to hear from Dan Dicka at 1:20. Come down and join me here. Everything you need in one spot where the action never stops, Spirit Mountain Casino. A special Saturday edition of the Rip City Drive here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. It's such a great song. I love the live performance of this. I think it was like at the 91 American Music Awards. Always have to show proper respect to Phil. The telephone number is 503-248-0620. I've been watching a lot of this Nuggets-Spurs game. Right now the Spurs are on top 57-46 first half. The pace has been really good. But here's what I'm wondering about San Antonio. They're like 25-2 in their last 27 games. They're going to win 60 or more, which is unreal. No one expected that. They've got the best defensive player and one of the brightest young stars in Victor Wembanyama. They move the basketball extremely well. They're great defensively. Here's my question about San Antonio. Are they too young and inexperienced to win a championship this year? I don't doubt that that's where they're headed towards, but in my lifetime, teams normally have to go through a bit of the refining fire of the NBA playoffs before they can win a championship. But this team is so good. I just can't wait to see how they handle a 7-game playoff series against a team like Oklahoma City. I mean, do you need experience or that playoff experience to be able to get over the hump? What a team they are. And this is a titanic matchup. The pace has been great. A little matinee action in Denver. Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, going to join me in person at 2:20 to break down the games. And then Dan Dickow here in about 15 minutes sharing his thoughts on the Final Four and the matchups and the tournament. Also some Gonzaga history with Mr. Dan, former Prairie Falcon like myself. If you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Let's go out to the phones. Raider Mike wants to chime in on a Saturday. Raider Mike, what's up, my friend? Fire away, buddy.
7 years, I never called you on Saturday.
I know.
Ever.
Yeah, it's like old school
wild.
doing a little Saturday show. Yeah, a little old school Saturday action.
Nothing wrong with that, bro. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, we got probably the best Final Four we've had in a long time. These 2 games are going to be epic.
No, it's going to be great. Now, Raider Mike, I've got a question for you with the Raiders. Fernando Mendoza, who I love, a great young man, and I want him to be great. Do you think he has everything that it takes to take him number 1 overall in the draft?
And more. And more. That dude, he got punched in the face in 2 of the last 2 games of the year. Both games he got punched in the face. Just got up and said, I'm slinging it some more. No, that dude is hardcore. He's also very Brady-esque in the way he can walk up, read the defense immediately. I mean, you can't teach that. Someone taught him that, but I don't know who it was. What, Signetti in 1 year? No, he's got a lot of tutelage. I mean, his screensavers, Tom Brady. The Raiders are partly owned by Tom Brady now. So the decision making has all of a sudden become kind of awesome after that Pete Carroll fiasco last year. So yeah, I'm with Fernando. Dude, I've been singing Fernando. I get 3 backup singers behind me. I'll send you the video if you want. There was a lot of liquor involved, but I got some really beautiful backup singers, and I sang Fernando to the crowd the night Indiana took down Oregon in the playoff. I had Oregon gear on when I did it, so that was kind of hard for me. My Ducks getting taken out by Indiana, yet that's my new quarterback. You know, it's ripped up feelings. The Blazers are back. You know, I'm happy about sports again for the first time in a long, long time. My A's are in Sacramento. My Blazers are up and coming.
Yes.
And how does the Spurs win that ping pong ball every time?
Yeah, it's
Robinson,
annoying. Yeah,
Duncan, we should be San Antonio, not them. And they just keep getting that ping pong ball. I don't know what they have on our commissioner to keep that working out for them like that. Both commissioners, because there's been 2 since. Anyway, I heard you gushing with, was it No last night?
yeah, B-No.
Yeah, B-No. Yeah, he nailed it. He thinks what I think. He thinks the Raiders think. I'm going to try and be in picks for that draft. You know what I did to their statue? I'm going to try and do that one more time to the Franco Harris statue at the airport. It's now outside the airport. Way more accessible. I'm still angry about that call, Chad. Still angry about that call. Anyway, Helene really messed up North Carolina. We got probably another year or 2 work here. Yet FEMA's getting shut down and stuff. So anyway, next time I can get out there, I got to collect our bet. I miss hearing you.
Hey, which Raider jersey? Which Raider jersey? What Raider jersey am I going to have to wear?
You guessed it right off the bat. You guessed
Derek
it
Carr.
right off the bat. You're wearing Derek.
Okay,
Well,
I'll
he's
do it.
classy. He's classy and
I'll do
cool.
it.
You're a lot
He is.
like
He's a good
him,
dude.
the way you think and act. But yeah, I can see you in D.C. for that round.
Yeah,
And I'm
DC's
getting
cool.
back.
I'm down with that.
Mountain golf makes you good out here. I love mountain golf.
Oh,
There's
dude.
nothing like golf in Appalachia. It's really nothing to do, bro. And the
Well, man,
musicians
enjoy
I'm
it.
playing with here nowadays, are mind-blowing. And still got my bagpiper, Cody. You remember Cody?
Oh, Cody, the former IRS agent,
I'm
Cody.
He left the IRS last year. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Anyway, once my band is completely formed here, he's coming up to North Carolina. And I'm making him learn Knights in White Satin now. So, anyway, it's all good. I miss you, Chad. And remember calling
Well,
on a Saturday. And I miss Oregon. Don't miss all the politics. But I miss my Blazers, and I miss my Chad. I miss my cousins and my ex-girlfriends. Love the show, Chad. I'll be in touch. Take care,
All
bro.
right, brother, you got it. There you
Love
go. There's Raider Mike. Love you, man. Knights in White Satin. Moody Blues has got some great songs. And I've mentioned this story before. The only thing that ticks me off about the Moody Blues is when I saw him with Brian Wheeler at the Keller Auditorium, and they played for like an hour 15. It was like an hour 10, and they're going into their encore, and it's like, hey, no offense, but you've got a catalog that's like a mile deep. What are you doing going an hour and 10 before you get into the encore? I don't respect bands that do that. And Chicago does that too. I've seen Chicago multiple times, and they always do the dumb medley. You know what I don't need in my life? Great songs being mashed into one song where they don't play the full song. I feel like I'm getting gypped when that kind of stuff happens. Shacker told me about that Janet Jackson concert. She did all of her songs, but they were like shortened versions. I don't need that kind of stuff in my life. The medley. You know, the medleys, you can put an egg in your shoe and beat it with the medley. It drives me crazy. Because they try to make you feel like you're getting the full meal deal, but what they're doing is they're gypping you. I don't appreciate that type of activity. You know, certain bands, I got high expectations. I need you to play for 2 hours. I don't think that's asking too much. I mean, if you're going to charge me, nowadays a good show, you ain't getting in for less than a C note. And a lot of times now it's over 2 C notes, to see a good band. So I don't mind paying for good music because it makes me happy. But don't jip me with some hour and 30-minute dealio you got going on. All right? I know what you're doing right now, and I don't like it. Now with Fernando Mendoza, like he's everything I want in a quarterback. Young, good leader, just led Indiana to a national championship. He's got the right attitude, the right approach, good family, really smart, and he showed toughness through the playoff run and the season. I would say the play, and a lot of you saw it because it was here, but that play where he threw the pick six against Oregon, and it looked like the Hoosiers were going to melt down at Autzen Stadium. He came back the next drive and led them straight down the field and threw a touchdown pass. And I was like, man, pretty awesome because you need that as a quarterback. You make one mistake, turnover, pick six. How do you respond? You wipe it from your memory. You trust your work and your preparation, and you go out and you execute. And the one thing that translates for him that I believe is, and I don't know if he's got the physical tools to be able to do everything you need him to do, but here's what I do know that works well. His movement in the pocket, the footwork in the pocket is critical, and guys like Brady and Manning thrive from that. Now, I'm not suggesting Mendoza is one of those guys, but the footwork in the pocket is awesome. But most importantly, he delivers the football on time and on target. And that's the most important thing in the NFL because the windows are tight, and you've got to be on schedule or you're going to be in trouble. And the quarterbacks that struggle are the ones who are not on time, not on target, not on schedule, and Mendoza won't have an issue doing that. But I think guys will gravitate towards him because of his attitude and the way he approaches the game. For players, they don't care what your background is or where you came from. They just want to know that you're putting in the time to be great and that you'll put them in a position to win games. And if you can do that, they're going to be happy with that. And so I just have a lot of respect for guys like Mendoza because he puts in the time that's necessary. So we'll see. And, I think it's got to be nice for him to be – he's going to be taken by the Raiders, rookie quarterback coming in to have a chance to work with Clint Kubiak. So you get quarterback and coach, and you've got that proper pairing, which is nice. And we'll see how it shakes out. Now, Raider Mike also mentioned that the Blazers are back. Not all the way back, but we're having a taste of something. I guess the best way to put it would be of what's to come. I mean, this team is headed in the right direction. I love a lot of their young players. And most importantly, they're getting some great experience down the stretch of playing in more meaningful games that matter, and they're going to get a taste of the postseason this year, which is going to be valuable for them as they continue to press forward. And then next year, the young core will continue to develop, and Dame's coming back. And we have an ownership group with a singular focus and a direction. Those are all positives. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number here at Spirit Mountain Casino. 503-248-0620. And Justin Ballinger going to join me coming up at 2:20. We're going to hear from Dan Dickau next, former Gonzaga Bulldog, former Trailblazer, former Prairie Falcon. We'll get his take on the tournament and how he sees things shaking out, and then we'll talk to Justin Ballinger at 2:20. But come down and join me. First game tips off just after 3 from Spirit Mountain Casino. 18 LED screens and a 165-inch big screen here in the sportsbook. Great place to hang out and relax and watch the games. Illinois, UConn tips off just after 3. You got a special edition of the Rip City Drive on this Saturday on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
seconds to go. Got to cut and run through the ball, and who better than this guy? Get it into Boozer, back for Sarr, ahead, Boozer, that ball deflected and stolen by Mullins. Caravan, 2 seconds, Mullins tosses it up. Oh! It's good! We're point 3! UConn goes in front!
All right, our next guest is a former Portland Trailblazer, former Gonzaga Bulldog, and now a terrific college basketball analyst. My pleasure to welcome Dan Dickau back to the Rip City Drive. Dan, thanks for your time, my friend.
Absolutely, Chad. No better time of year, especially after that game ender last night, huh?
All right, in our lifetime, I was thinking about this morning. I still put Christian Laettner's shot heard around the world against Kentucky in '92 at number 1, but that one's got to be number 2. Where does that finish rank for you?
Probably the same. The only one, just because of my Gonzaga background, that Jalen Suggs half-court heave against UCLA would be up there as well.
Yes.
But those 3 were absolutely incredible.
All right, so why don't you walk me through, as a player and as an analyst, what was being said in both huddles for UConn and Duke before the final 10 seconds unfolded?
Well, if you look at it, right, because UConn's at the free throw line, so the thought process has to be make sure we're matched up. We got plenty of time to go for a quick trap and or steal. If you don't get it, then at that point we're going to need to foul, where maybe there's 6 or 7 seconds on the clock, and then Duke goes down and makes some free throws, and then you still have a chance to tie it, depending on the made free throw situation. So that's kind of the conversation that UConn has. Duke's conversation should have been, look, because I believe they had a timeout, if I remember correctly. Go over how many timeouts you have. Make sure you come to the basketball on every possession or on every pass, and also understand the fact that you're in trouble. Pick your dribble up, chin it. Don't just chuck it. Essentially, and all those things kind of went wrong for Duke. I mean, they got the initial press break just fine. I saw some, comments on social media, well, that was a terrible press break because this, that, and the other. It was actually a perfectly fine press break. It was just the fact that, Caden Boozer was in a hurry to make that pass. If he comes to a 2-foot quick stop, he can ball fake and deliver that pass, or he comes to a quick stop and he gets fouled. Instead, he tried to kind of, throw it on the run and throw it over the length, and was deflected.
Do you think that in that moment he saw his teammate flashing up court with no one around him and he thought, I could get the pass over top? Those things happen so quick, but he probably didn't realize the defense had their arms extended at that point. He was just trying to get the ball up court.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing is if those fingertips don't get on the ball, Duke gets a dunk and, game over. There's no chance for UConn. In that split second, you think you see something, you don't know spatially, where the defender might be, and you think you got it, and lo and behold, the defender makes a tremendous play.
We're talking to Dan Dickau, former Gonzaga Bulldog, here on the Rip City Drive. So I thought UConn did a really good job of just staying engaged. They were down by 19 and came back. They scored 20 points off of turnovers. Were you impressed with the way that Coach Hurley continued to keep his team engaged and continue to fight, scratch, and claw as that game went along? Because I thought Duke's first half was flawless.
Yeah, Duke played a great first half. And on the flip side, UConn didn't play a terrible first half, but they didn't play a great first half either. For as much as is said about, Danny Hurley and his demonstrative emotions on the sidelines, whatever you want to call it, his guys play their butts off for him. They understand the message that's being delivered. Some people in this day and age might not understand or appreciate or like the delivery, but there's a method to his madness. I think he's an unbelievable coach. And for him to, get his guys to continue to believe when they're down, 19, I think it was at one point in the first half, and then they start whittling it down. They start running better offense. They get some stops, and just kind of stay engaged in the game and understand and know it's a 40-minute game. So many times, you see it in the NBA, Chad, I'm sure, because you watch the Blazers so closely. 48-minute game in the NBA, a 20-point lead is nothing. Well, in college, with the advent of the three-point line and so many teams, relying on it, 20 points is not that much in a college game either. So understanding and getting your team to understand there's ebbs and flows in a game, and if you just stay with what's made you successful throughout the year, you're going to climb back into it and have a chance, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, no question about it. Did you ever have a coach or anyone that came close to being a little bit over the top like Coach Hurley?
No. My high school coach was pretty even keeled. I mean, he'd get on us, but in the right way. He held us to a pretty high standard. And then Bob Bender at UW, there was a couple times in practices and in the locker room at University of Washington where there'd be some profanity-laced tirades. I remember one time when I was at UW, I think it was my freshman year, we were at Oklahoma State, and this was maybe first 6 weeks of my college career. Comes in at halftime, and he just starts punching the locker room, just denting the metal lockers in Oklahoma State, hands bloody, just dripping down his hands. And, that's the only one where I can really think of, a coach kind of really – he didn't necessarily lose it, but he went after it pretty good. Yeah.
Well, if we look at that matchup in the Final Four, it's going to be UConn and Illinois Saturday at 3:09. That's the first game up. The Illini are a short favorite of 2.5. Well, what do you think about this matchup? Because, the Illini, it's really interesting, Dan, where they went through a stretch of the season where they were struggling defensively, and now all of a sudden they look like a lockdown team. They showed toughness, their defense is on point, and they got some guys down low who will battle. What do you think about this matchup?
I think it's going to be a great game. I think there's two phenomenal, Final Four matchups on Saturday. I mean, you talk about Illinois. Brad Underwood is a great example for a lot of young coaches that are maybe coaching at a lower level, JUCO or a D2. Like, there's as many good coaches at those levels as there are sometimes in head coaching positions at the Division I level. It's just they haven't gotten their opportunity. And, he was at Stephen F. Austin, and then he went to, I believe it was Oklahoma State before he went to Illinois. And, they play a really fun brand of basketball on the offensive end because they move the ball, they share it, they're great cutters. But defensively, you're right. That's kind of where their season kind of got revitalized, in Big Ten play, because with the size that they have, you're able to contest nearly every shot, and you're able to be in gaps or in passing lanes with a lot less effort than if you're 3-4 inches shorter at each possession. But, Keaton Wagler's been unbelievable as a freshman. He was like a 200th ranked recruit or something. Really no expectations out of him. He's put together a great year. And then Peja Stojakovic's son, third school in 3 years. He's playing really good right now. He was tremendous last weekend.
Yeah, what's interesting about him, where his dad was like the classic catch-and-shoot guy in the NBA, but his son is someone that can put the ball on the floor and get at the rim. Different games.
Yeah, who he reminds me of is Casey Jacobson. Played at Stanford. And
yes.
We were teammates for a short bit in the NBA. Like, Casey's reputation coming out was that he was a shooter, and I thought it was the same. But once we became teammates, yeah, he could shoot it, but he was only taking wide open threes. He was more of a put your head down, get to the paint, create contact, get fouled guy, and that's the comp that I see for Stojakovic.
That's interesting. Dan Dickhouse here on the Rip City Drive. In the other game, you got the two powerhouses, Michigan and Arizona. The Wildcats are interesting, Dan, because they've got size like Illinois, and they don't have to shoot the three, but they've got that in their bag if they need it. And then Michigan's been one of the most dominant teams throughout the course of the season. What do you think about this one?
It's going to be a classic right here. I honestly wish this was the title game. Obviously, how brackets, come together. Everyone always has, I wish this matchup could happen later in the tournament. Well, this is the one for me I would love to see this as the championship game. Michigan they've been dominant from November. I mean, what they did in the Players era in Vegas was ridiculous. They beat, San Diego State, Gonzaga, and somebody else. I think it was Alabama, each team by 30 or more, or it was Auburn. And, they just kind of put a statement out there early. And I think they've got 2, maybe 3 losses on the year, but when you're in such a difficult conference like the Big Ten and you have a B game instead of an A game on the road, maybe you got a chance to drop one. But their size, we talked about Illinois size, the interior size of Michigan's ridiculous. I mean, 7'3" with Mara, Merez Johnson, Lindborg, 6'10" and agile. And, the question mark I have, I'm not a big Elliot Cadeau fan.
Yeah.
So if he can have a big game, I think they're going to have a chance. But in all honesty, I'm pulling for Arizona. Tommy Lloyd's my guy. I know a lot of Gonzaga fans are going to be, I want Coach Fee to win one first. And absolutely I want Coach Fee to win one first, but that's not the case. That's not the scenario now. There's no way I'm going to root against Tommy this weekend. I want to see him get that win.
Have you had the opportunity to see Michigan in person this year, Dan?
I have not, no.
Interesting. Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, if you had to take a guess, who do you think is going to wind up in the title game? So Arizona against, who do you think wins between UConn and Illinois?
I think UConn. There's just something about Danny Hurley's teams that figure it out. One, because he's a great coach, but 2, you got a guy like Alex Karaban on your team right now. I mean, he's kind of that ultimate glue guy. When a couple of the other guys, Klingon left to the NBA and Stephon Castle left to the NBA, everyone was kind of thinking okay, now it's Karaban's team. Well, he's not that kind of guy that you're going to go out and rely on for 18 to 20 points. You put talent around him, again, they have this year, and you allow him to play to his strengths and his roles, and that's just being a great screener, great cutter, expect, 13 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, whatever it is. You get a guy like that that just does whatever it takes to win, you're going to have chances to go deep in the tournament. What I didn't realize, and it makes a lot of sense now when you think about it, he's got a chance to be, I think, the all-time leading wins leader in NCAA tournament history if they win. Duke with Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley, I think, are the top 2. But it would be amazing. I mean, he's been in 3 Final Fours. If they get to the championship game, there would be 3 national title appearances in 4 years. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. What's interesting about UConn? They don't have the big stars like some of these other teams in the Final Four. They're just a good team. They function really well. That you can tell there's cohesiveness there. That's what jumps out to me.
Yeah, and it's there's a toughness factor to UConn basketball. I called a UConn game a couple of years ago and had a chance to obviously prep for the game and sit at shoot-around and watch Danny Hurley up close and talk for 15, 20 minutes after shoot-around. He holds those guys to an incredibly high standard, even in shoot-around.
Yeah.
And he's not riding the guys, but he's getting them to do everything they need to do to understand what the task at hand is in shoot-around. So then later that night, they know how to take advantage of opportunities that come their way. And it's something that, for athletes, you can't just flip the switch, right? Or you shouldn't think that you can flip the switch. You got to constantly be, preparing so that, you're never having to, quote, get ready. You're always ready to go. And I think that's one of the things about this UConn team. They've had some losses. The couple losses to St. John's clearly come to mind. But, it's not for lack of being ready. Sometimes losses are lack of made shots.
Huh. I've got 2 more questions for you. I wanted to go back to a couple of nights ago with Nebraska and Iowa. There was that situation late in the game where Iowa wound up with Nebraska wound up with 4 guys on the floor after a timeout, and Iowa got an easy jam, and they ended up winning the game. Can you explain to me in a timeout how that situation works on the bench? Do you have a whiteboard where the players who are going to be in are written up on the board? Are the assistants communicating that? How does that happen?
To be honest, I don't know how that happens to go out on the floor with four guys. I don't. You know, but you mentioned, you know, an assistant and or a whiteboard kind of, you know, Fred Hoiberg kind of took the fall for his whole staff. And, and, you know, that's what a great
I respected
that head coach is going to do. Yeah. You know, but clearly something, you know, because every fall when coaching staffs are putting together all of their early practice plans, you know, just overview for the season, they go over roles of everything. Like nowadays with the challenge, okay, who's the video coordinator or the assistant coach sitting with the iPad that truly is the definitive one to tell the head coach to signal challenge? Who's in charge of the whiteboard at a timeout like you talked about, making sure we have our matchups? So clearly something was missed in that. Give him a lot of credit for kind of owning up to it and taking it. But I have never seen that before. I've seen 6, and clearly that would be a technical foul. Quite frankly, I would have been, you know, more impressed if 6 Nebraska guys went out there because 6 guys wanted to be on the floor.
I know, me too. At least you're trying to find a way to get an edge there. One other question for you. You know, there was a lot of talk about this, especially in the early rounds with NIL and the impact on the game of college basketball. What was your overall take after you seeing the tournament, and now that we're at the Final Four, and the impact of the NIL? Are we now going to see less Cinderella stories, or are the Cinderella stories going to become teams like Iowa, the teams kind of in the middle of a major conference? How do you see it?
Well, I think, unfortunately, I think it's going to be more difficult for the true Cinderella stories to occur, you know, because you got to catch lightning in a bottle with your play, but you also have to, before you catch it, you got to have the support staff of, you know, your athletic department and probable boosters and donors to have the money to be able to put together a roster that could do something special. You know, I know some people were trying to call Texas, of all schools, and Iowa, you know, Cinderellas. And the fact you're in 2 of the major conferences, I don't think you could ever call them a Cinderella. I think I heard somewhere today, Texas athletic department budget is $375 million. So there's no calling that a Cinderella. But the interesting point where I was going with that was what you might start seeing in some of these power conferences, maybe that know they have absolutely no shot at football, right? Mm-hmm. They might allocate more of their funds to basketball, thinking like, hey, we've got a truly great coach here. We think the recruiting pipeline is going to be able to fall in our favor. We're going to allocate more of our percentage coming into basketball, and you might see some of the lesser known basketball programs from the major conferences make a run at it in a different way than a lot of people were initially thinking about it.
Interesting. Oh, by the way, one other question, just to settle a little conversation I was having. Justin Ballinger, he's the sportsbook manager at Spirit Mountain Casino. He went to Gonzaga. He loves the Zags. He wanted to make sure I told you that you're awesome. He's a big fan of yours. But we were talking, and, you know, you take John Stockton out of it because that was before Gonzaga became kind of this preeminent tournament team. But who's like the face of Gonzaga basketball during this resurgence of the program? Would it be Suggs? Would it be Santangelo? Is it you? Like, who do you look at as kind of the guy that kind of fits that you know, at the top of the order of all the guys who have come through?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because I look at it in a couple different kind of stretches, right? I look at that Santangelo Fromm group as the originators.
Yes.
You know, myself in the 2 years I played, we were the guys that made sure it didn't go down.
Yep.
And we kept ascending. And then Adam Morrison, you know, really kind of got the national limelight on the program because he was National Player of the Year with J.J. Redick. Kelly Olynyk was the first team that was ranked number 1 in the country. You know, but I think any of those guys, but then, you know, it's Domantas Sabonis is hard to go against.
Yes.
Shemet Karnowski, maybe he didn't have the pro career, but just how good he was for so long and the teams that he was on. You know, you're kind of getting me kind of reminiscent about how many good players have gone through
a ton.
There. You know, yeah, it's amazing. I think behind Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, I believe there's the most NBA players right now that are currently from Gonzaga. That's awesome. You know, you could throw Drew Timmy's name in that mix. just because of what he did for 4 years.
Ultra productive.
So, yeah, I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Have you seen the documentary on Gonzaga yet?
I have, yeah. So there was a premiere of it up in Spokane a couple days before.
Sweet.
It was released on that Tubi platform. So I took my sons there, and there was a couple hundred people, former players, current players, a lot of people that are very well connected to the program. It was a really cool event, and I thought the producer did a great job with that
Me too.
documentary. It was really good.
Yeah, I was wondering what you thought. How old are your kids now, Dan?
Well, my second oldest son, he's sitting next to me in the car. I'm about to drop him off at baseball. He's 13. And then our older boy is 20.
Wow.
He'll be playing basketball at Spokane Community College next year. And then of our girls, our oldest is 21, if you can believe that one.
That's amazing. Hey, Dan, I appreciate your time, buddy. I love your insight, and I know you love the tournament as much as anyone. So enjoy the Final Four, and I'll catch up with you, buddy.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
There you go. There's Dan Dickau. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that clip from Dan Dickau, and I'm going to play it for Justin Ballinger. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, Robert Irvine's Fit Crunch. The godbrother, Bruce Janes, bringing me nutrition bars here at Spirit Mountain Casino, which is fabulous. And I just asked him, I said, who do you like today? He's like, I don't know. I'm still up in the air. And the lines are tough. You get these odds makers when you get close and you get into the Final Four. I mean, they are really tight with how they call these games. Nuggets, Spurs just kicked off the second half, 72-67. But I'm going to play that clip, Dan Dickau talking about Gonzaga. I'll play it for Justin. Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager, went to Gonzaga, huge Bulldog fan, and we'll get his take on what Dickau had to say about the greatest of all the greats at Gonzaga. So Ballinger will join me coming up at 2:20, and we'll keep things rolling here live at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. Everything you want is here for you today. My giveaways I'll have around 3:30, 3:45, but come on down and enjoy the Final Four action here at Spirit Mountain Casino. The sportsbook is awesome. Open seating, cushy chairs. 10 Barrel Brewing is right next door where you can grab some wonderful food, stadium bar, everything you could possibly want in one spot. All right? Hope you're enjoying your Saturday special edition of the Rip City Drive live from Spirit Mountain Casino, where the action never stops. All right, telephone number 503-248-0620. I'm live here at the BetMGM Sportsbook inside of Spirit Mountain Casino, getting ready for the Final Four. UConn and Illinois will tip off just after 3 o'clock. And this Spurs-Nuggets game is on crack right now. 7:53 to play, third quarter. Spurs on top, 82-76. Great pace, great star power. Jokic and Wemby going at each other. And there's been some good three-point shooting as well. So it's been a very entertaining game. And these two teams are heavyweights. Let's go out to the phones. Ray wants to ask some questions about Coach Billups. Ray, welcome to the special Saturday edition of the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind?
All right, Chad. One question. Is Coach Billups fired or not?
Well, here's the deal with that, Ray. The investigation is ongoing, and we have a trial that's upcoming. And so his status right now is unknown and, officially unknown. That's why Tiago Splitter still remains the acting head coach. The Blazers can't make a move until they know what the result of the trial is. But my guess would be this. Regardless of what happens in the trial, I don't expect Coach Billups to ever coach another game for the Blazers. But as of right now, he is still by name the head coach of the Trailblazers. And, this is how the NBA, this is how these sports leagues work, and a lot of, big-time people. They got to let the process play out, the legal process play out, and the trial play out before they officially let him go, because he's under contract right now. So if he's found guilty, then they could let him go with cause and wouldn't have to pay out his contract. But if he's found innocent, then they're going to have to negotiate and work out a buyout. So that's how the process works.
With what they already know right now, isn't that enough to say we can fire you now? We know enough.
Well, no, because he's innocent until proven guilty. So you've got to let the process play out. Because, again, you can't – if you let him go now, you're going to have to pay him. But if you wait and he's found guilty, you can let him go without having to pay the rest of the contract. He was just signed to an extension after last year, so it's smart business to let this play out to see what the result is. And if you can fire him with cause, you won't have to pay out the rest of the contract.
Good point. Thank you.
So – I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can let him go right now, but you're going to have to negotiate a buyout and pay him out on that deal. It might be smart just to let the process play out. But one thing for certain, I don't anticipate Coach Billups ever coaching another game for the Trailblazers, obviously.
Great information. Go Blazers.
You got it, buddy. There's Ray. That's the deal. The Blazers are just letting the process play out. You've got a contract extension that was just signed at the end of last year. And you've got to let it play out, because if he's found guilty of what he's accused of, you can fire him for cause. You don't have to pay him another dime. But if he's found innocent and he's clear of the charges, there's going to be some type of buyout if you choose not to bring him back as coach. I just don't think – let's say that he's exonerated through the process of the trial. I can't imagine a new ownership group, bringing him back. You'd probably want to start fresh, right? That'd be my guess. And so, therefore, you could negotiate, buyout, and move on. And we'll see how it plays out. But in terms of what has been accused or what he's been accused of, I am a big believer in just letting the process play out. Innocent until proven guilty. Let's see what comes out in the trial. Let's see if it's legit, and then we go from there. But for the Blazers, that's why it might be there's a good possibility that maybe Tiago Splitter and Dundon had some encouraging things to say about him at the press conference a couple of days ago. But as this process continues to play out with Coach Billups, maybe it's best to keep Tiago in as acting head coach until that entire situation plays out with Chauncey Billups. But intriguing nonetheless. And I think it was Shacker and I were just joking. I wonder if Billups is who's he got his money on today in the Final Four. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, is going to join me coming up at 2:20, and we'll get his full breakdown on the two games, where the money's at, what he thinks, and get some prognostication going on. So I hope you're enjoying your afternoon. Live from Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. It's going to be awesome today. Tip-off of the Final Four, Illinois and UConn just after 3. Come down and join me. I'll have giveaways. I got some goodies to give away around 3:45. And just hanging out and watching some ball. And then later on tonight, drawing times at 6, 7, and 8 for spring into the driver's seat. They are giving away a brand new 2026 Stingray at the end of the month, and they've got daily drawings to determine the 30 finalists every day of the month in April. So it's pretty awesome. All right, Justin Ballinger coming up at 2:20. You got your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. What's going on, my friends? It's now 2 o'clock. Chad Doing here live from Spirit Mountain Casino inside of the BetMGM Sportsbook. Getting ready for the Final Four, which will tip off just after 3 o'clock with Illinois and UConn, the 3 and 2 seed matchup. And in the other national semifinal, the 2-1 seeds, Michigan and Arizona. That game's scheduled to tip off just before 6 o'clock, 5:49. Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager, will join me coming up in about 20 minutes to preview both games and break it down. I've got giveaways at around 3:45. There'll be food and drink specials. Come on down where the action never stops to take in both games. Trailblazers get a couple of more days off. They'll be in action Monday in Denver against the Nuggets. That game will tip off at 6 o'clock. And checking the NBA scoreboard right now, Spurs, Nuggets from Denver, matinee action, 2:16 to go third quarter. Spurs on top, 92-84. All right, getting ready for all the action. Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager, is going to join me coming up here in 20 minutes. And hope you're enjoying your Saturday. What a day it is. The weather, as I was driving down from North Vancouver all the way down to Spirit Mountain today, was fabulous. And I am jealous of all the guys I know who are out playing golf right now. I am not. My official golf season will begin when the Trailblazers season is over. But today is spectacular. I love the blue skies, the sunshine. I had to bust out the sunglasses, so it is on. And we got a lot of good things to talk about with these Final Four games. I love the Final Four because I think both games, all four teams, quality, and I think both games are going to be very intriguing. I can't wait to get Justin Ballinger's breakdown on everything. A great NBA game going on right now in Denver with the Spurs and the Nuggets. San Antonio, one of the best teams in basketball, and absolutely on fire right now. 25-2 in their last 27 games. Victor Wembanyama, best defensive player in basketball. And then you've got the Nuggets, who are the best offensive team in basketball, and Jokic and Murray together. A titanic matchup. And this game means a lot for both teams that are still jockeying for playoff position in the Western Conference. We know the Blazers right now have control of the 8th spot in the Western Conference, but at the top, you've got Oklahoma City at 61-16. They are 2 games in front of the Spurs, who are sitting at 59-18. So there's 2 game separation there. And then you've got this intrigue at 3, 4, and 5, and 6. 3 through 6 is up in the air. Lakers right now are 50-27. They're a game up on the Nuggets, who are 4th. The Nuggets are a game up on the Rockets, who are in 5th. And then you've got the Rockets, who are 2 games up on the Timberwolves, who are in 6th. And the Lakers right now dealing with soft tissue injury to Luka Doncic. So that's intriguing. We'll see how they do come playoff time. The Nuggets, Lakers, questionable with their defense. And then you got the Rockets and Timberwolves, who defensively are pretty solid, but both teams are still trying to, find their way. 5-point game right now with the Spurs and Nuggets, late third quarter at Ball Arena in Denver. And for the Trailblazers, as I laid out, I think it's going to be good enough. If you just go on paper with how things should play out, the Blazers at 40-38, the Spurs at 39-38, Clippers, at 39-38. They've got 5 games to play. Portland has 4 games to play. So if Portland wins the games they're supposed to win remaining on their schedule, they would finish with 41 wins. The Spurs have 3 games on their schedule that they should win. And if that takes place, the Clippers would finish with 42 wins, which makes that game next Friday all the more important. Portland's got to play at Denver, at San Antonio, and then they get to host the Clippers next Friday at Moda Center. I think the way it's going to play out is that game on Friday is going to come down for all the marbles for the 8th spot in the play-in tournament. That's really what it comes down to. Can they beat the Clippers again? And if they do, they would even up the season series 2-2, and the Blazers would have the conference tiebreak. And then they would get the 8th seed. And as I mentioned before, the advantage of the 7-8 play-in game, you get 2 games to win 1 to be a part of the postseason. And I want the Blazers to get into the playoffs because I want them to have that experience the young guys of what it's like to prepare for the postseason, what it's like to go up against an opponent that studied you and has a game plan to stop you, to exploit your weaknesses, because you come out of that a much better basketball player and a much better team. And what a great experience for the new ownership group to be able to sit back and watch how this plays out. But I would like to see the Blazers find a way to scratch out a victory in Denver or San Antonio. Two difficult places to play against two very good teams. I just don't want to see the Blazers limping in. I want to see them, continue to build on this momentum they've gathered over the last couple of games. That win in L.A. on Tuesday was awesome. They played great basketball. Everything started with their defense and the energy and the way they attacked. And then we saw guys flying around, getting to loose balls and doing all sorts of great things. It was awesome. I love that kind of stuff. All right, we're now headed to the fourth quarter in Denver. Spurs on top of the Nuggets, 96-92. But I just thought it was great to see the way that the Blazers competed in that game. And the bench over the last couple of games has been great. Great production from Robert Williams III. Matisse Thybulle has been sensational. And then, of course, Chris Murray, who has risen up to play some of his best basketball. And so the Blazers' depth, we knew they were a team that had multiple players who could play in depth, but it's really starting to show itself right now as guys are coming back healthy. Without Jeremy Grant, without Shaedon Sharpe, they found other guys to step up. Drew Holiday was brought in for a variety of reasons, but the Blazers thought he would help them win games, and we've seen that the last two. Game-high 30 against the Clippers, game-high 27 against the Pelicans, and hit 7 threes in each game. He's been big time. They're getting terrific play from Denny Avdia, who I believe he sure looks like he's back to 100% because he's attacking, getting to the foul line, getting into the paint, and helping to push the tempo. And then Donovan Clingan's been, one of the better defensive players in the game, and he's played terrific basketball over the last couple of months. So a lot of things to be excited about, but I think it's all going to come down to the Clipper game. So I would encourage you now, go to trailblazers.com and get your tickets, because that will be a playoff-type atmosphere in a game that's going to mean everything to both teams. Because that 7-8 playing game is a much better situation than the 9-10. But excited to see how it plays out. And the Blazers, 9-3 in their last 12, taking advantage of the games that they should take advantage of, and then, really nutting up and getting that win against the Clippers. They talked about it. They prepared for it. They knew it was a big game. Coach Splitter talked about it, and they went out with the right approach. And how about Toumani Camara, too, really developing into, kind of that big-time 3-and-D type player. And he had 23 points in the game on Thursday, but that first half three-point shooting by him was terrific, and he had a chance to talk after the game.
What did it mean to you to get the game ball and have that moment afterwards?
I don't know. It's a little bit weird, I mean, you work towards those type of things, but it's I'm just glad we was able to get that through a win, But yeah, it's something that I've been working on, trying to figure it out, and I don't know.
How do you work on drawing offensive fouls?
The biggest thing for me, it was just my first year. I feel like I was really getting mad at by people being able to create foul offensively, and I was trying to find kind of like a counter defensively. How can I match that energy or like draw fouls also defensively? And I think that was the biggest thing. So I watched a lot of film on that and just being smart and sell. There's a bunch of situations throughout the game where there is a lot of offensive foul, but sometimes it's hard to see for the ref because it might be smaller movements and stuff like that. So I just thought maybe enhancing it was going to help me, and I did that last year, and I just want to take that to another level this year.
Is it like selling it, or leaning into it, or like?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like like as an offensive player, you're dribbling. Somebody reaching and you put your head back, or people doing a lot of hooks and stuff like that. It's kind of like that same mindset. Try to outsmart the game,
He doesn't sell, he embellishes.
Sorry?
So you don't sell, you embellish.
Yeah, exactly.
I know obviously that team results and team success is more important than any of this individual stuff. But is it kind of easier to enjoy some of this, these individual records or whatever, when it's a record for something that's like a purely like unselfish, like defensive thing like this, as opposed to
for sure. And I feel like that's the player that I am today. Like I'm a facilitator, make winning plays, and really be the biggest team player that I can be. Try to have my team win. I think that's the biggest thing. If I can get stops individually, I mean, I do that anytime. So it's all about winning basketball game for me, and it's always what it's going to be about for me.
You take more pride in that, or playing every single game this year?
Playing every single game, probably. and that's something that I always wanted to do, be able to challenge myself and push myself physically to be able to compete all 82. And and then that just happened to follow along, but yeah.
What is there a way to describe how difficult it is to play every game? I mean, you gotta be sore.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it the first 2 years. It was really tough on my body, but I feel like this year I feel pretty good, to be honest. I feel pretty prepared for it. Mentally and physically, I was kind of ready for the situation, and I was able to maintain my weight, be good on eating and stuff like that. So I feel like it's been pretty smooth for me this year.
Obviously, we had the tooth incident earlier this year, but do you ever take a charge or something and you're just like, oh, why did I just do that? Like, do you ever? I mean, how much do you feel it afterwards?
For sure. I think it's depending on how many charges you get per game, you know. But
3 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about being able to brace yourself on your falls. You know, I feel like once you're able to find the right technique to not hurt yourself every time you fall on the ground, I feel like it's way easier to put your body out there and have trust in you getting on the ground and not hurting yourself. You know, I feel like I was doing that a little bit in college, and I had like tape on my wrist. Even my first year, I had a lot of tape on my wrist, on my fingers and stuff like that, just by getting messed up. But I feel like my technique just getting better. So yeah.
All right, there's Toumani Camara. Really respect him a great deal. I love the way he has approached the game this year. You know, keep in mind he signed the big extension during the offseason. And I think because he cares so much, I think he probably put a little pressure on himself. But he got up to the season on a slow start on the shooting end. But I think a lot of that had to do with a variety of different things. One, he was adjusting to having a new role with the team. I think he was putting pressure on himself because of the new deal. And then you had a bunch of guys in and out of the lineup with all the injuries they incurred over the course of the season. And so I think it took him a bit to find his rhythm, but now he's really rounding into form, and we're seeing that on the offensive end with the big-time, shot making from three. And he's a guy that takes pride in that because he doesn't want to be known just as a defensive player. He wants to know that he can be a threat on offense and make shots. And when he's making shots, it opens everything up for the rest of his teammates. But his attitude and approach, I mean, Coach Splitter talked about after the game how he sets the tone for them defensively. Like, that's what he does. He sets the tone for them. He brings it defensively. And it's just cool to see the way he's able to operate. I got nothing but mad respect for Toumani Camara. Telephone number is 503-248-0620. So what we're going to do coming up next, I'm live here at Spirit Mountain Casino at the BetMGM Sportsbook. The manager, Justin Ballinger, is going to join me, and we'll go inside the numbers on the two games that are coming up. First game's going to tip off just after 3, Illinois and UConn, followed by Michigan and Arizona. So Justin will take us inside the numbers, where the money's moving, and we'll get his take on how things are going to play out. So I appreciate your time on this Saturday. Hope you're enjoying the sunshine. And come down and join me for the Final Four. I've got giveaways I'll do around 3:45. You can come in and hang out in the sports book with open seating, big cushy chairs. Great place to hang out. And then we'll see who's going to play in the title game on Monday. All right, 503-248-0620. Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager at Spirit Mountain Casino, is coming up next on the special edition of the Rip City Drive. All right, my favorite time of the week. Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager at Spirit Mountain Casinos, joining me here as we get ready for the Final Four live from the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino. And Justin, you and I always talk about Shohei Ohtani and how he's kind of a unicorn. Victor Wembanyama is becoming that guy in the NBA now, too.
It's crazy. I mean, we're sitting here just marveling at this game right now. You know, him and Jokic going at it, but the things that Wembanyama is able to do that, you know, we just haven't seen before it's incredible.
Yeah, this has been a terrific NBA basketball game today. The pace and the star power with Jokic and Wembanyama. All right, so the BetMGM Sportsbook, first game is going to tip off coming up at 3:09 with Illinois and UConn. And we'll talk and break down the matchups. But I guess overall, Justin, what's your take on this Final Four with the teams that are in, what you've seen through the tournament? It seems like we got 4 really good teams, and it should be a good Final Four.
Yeah. We got 4, probably maybe the 4 best teams. I mean, you know, Duke might have a little argument to make there, but it's been exciting. It's been fun. We have really it's so up in the air still with the 4 teams remaining. You know, they're all so good, and they all have their own special, you know, I guess factors that they're able to present their opponents, and it's a great Final Four.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And you know, that game last weekend with Duke and UConn, I mean, in my lifetime, I still put the Leitner shot against Kentucky #1, but that was one of the best finishes I've ever seen. And all Boozer had to do was hold on to the basketball, but he tried to get the pass up court for the dunk and the win, and then UConn able to get the massive shot for the 3. Amazing.
Yeah, I know, crazy. It's tough, you know, in the freshman moments, you know, and when you have just a couple seconds and they don't call a timeout, and you know, but kind of came back to bite them. But you know, that's why we play the game.
Well, speaking of that, you know, I was just talking with you earlier. Like, I love Arizona. Like, I think they're a powerhouse, and I've had fun watching them this year. Like, a really good basketball team. And I was trying to think, like, what is the negative with Arizona? And the only thing I could come up with is that they're a young backcourt. You know, freshman guys in the backcourt, and they've played in close games this year and been very successful. But you know, in a big moment in the national semifinal, could you have another like Boozer type moment where one of those guys, you know, has a gap? That's the only thing I can come up with to try and make an argument against Zona.
It's hard. They looked so good inside, outside. You know, getting to the rim. You might have a point there. You know, they do have the 3 freshmen, including Burries, in the backcourt. I wonder I guess we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I wonder if it is close late, you know, does Jaden Bradley start taking over the game for Arizona and say, you know, I'm the senior leader, give me the ball and get out of my way type thing. We'll see though. You know, it's Arizona. The freshmen to this point have just been fantastic. I haven't seen the weakness. I'm not sure that this group it's going to hit them that way, but Michigan, you know, if it's going to happen against anyone, it might happen against Michigan.
And credit to Illinois too. You know, they had their defensive issues earlier in the season, but once they turned it around that end, I mean, they've just been simply one of the best teams in college basketball over the back half of the schedule or the back half of the season, and they've powered their way through the tournament. It's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, part of the reason I didn't like Illinois early in the season, despite them having the #1 offense, was because of the defense, you know, and it's just, you know, again, as a Gonzaga fan, you know, there's so many years where we've had a top 5, top 3 offense and the defense isn't there. And
That's
I'm just
right.
was seeing shades of those Gonzaga teams, you know, with this Illinois team, but they've totally turned it around.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And then with UConn, I guess the best way I can describe them is like they don't have the superstar power. They're just a good team that plays, you know, really good fundamental sound basketball.
Yeah. I mean, the watch an offensive set, you know, everyone's moving. Everyone knows exactly where they need to be. I mean, as crazy as Hurley is, he is a really good coach. So, you know, them having the 5 days here to prep for one team could be a challenge for Illinois.
Yeah, Hurley is crazy, but I respect him, and you know his players obviously care about him. I've talked to Donovan Clingan quite a bit, and he is one of those guys who has a lot of good things to say about him in terms of the program, the way he runs things, and a lot of guys, they want to be coached hard, and Hurley will provide that for you, right? Because he wants to see you be at your very best. And Mark Few is a guy who is not crazy like Hurley, but he coaches guys hard, which I respect.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you're like a casual fan, you see Mark Few, it doesn't seem like he's, you know, maybe as animated or into it, but he definitely can light a fire.
Okay, let's start with the later matchup that's going to be around 5:49 tip-off time. The 2-1 seeds, Michigan and Arizona. I don't disagree that they're the 2 best teams in the Final Four and the most complete teams, and they've been dominant throughout the course of the season. So the current line right now, Michigan is a 1.5-point favorite over Arizona. What's your take on that line, and what have you seen from opening line up until now?
Yeah, so we opened at 1.5 for Michigan, and it kind of stayed stagnant there all week. This morning we had a slight flip where we saw Arizona for just a couple minutes become a 1.5-point favorite, and then it went right back to Michigan. It's now settled where Michigan is still a 1.5-point favorite. However, they're juiced pretty highly, and the money line is almost a pick 'em at this point.
Interesting. What is your take on this with what you've seen? Like, how do you read this one? It's a tough one.
It's tough. It's as good a college basketball game, that I can remember in recent memory. It's tough. What I take from it, it feels like Arizona is like the all fundamental team. They run their sets, they get easy buckets down low, they get to the free throw line, they play smart defense, but Michigan just has these bursts that they can go on, where you blink and it's a 20-0 run.
Yeah.
And so it'll be really interesting for me to see, can Arizona kind of, regroup and limit those kind of runs that Michigan might have? Or, can Michigan get away with 3-4, big runs during the game?
So there's no real indicators that you're seeing right now on Arizona or Michigan that would give you a lean one direction or the other.
Yeah, this one's tough. I'm not seeing much of anything. I will say that we're about 3-1 high on Arizona money and ticket wise right now,
which is to be expected, right? Because they're a West Coast team.
And Arizona is a West Coast team. They were our biggest liability, not that big of one, but they were our biggest liability of the 4 teams remaining. And so I think there is just that natural kind of attraction towards them as well.
Is that because of the future bets on Arizona to win the tournament?
Correct,
okay.
Yeah. Me indicator wise, I'm not sold on this game that there really is a good one. This is a tough one.
All right. What if with some of the people you've reached out to in Vegas and across the country at other sports books, is there any indicators for them? Or are they seeing it the same way?
There's been it does seem like there's more Arizona money than Michigan money.
Okay.
And while we flipped this morning here at Spirit Mountain, it did not flip at Vegas and Atlantic City books. So from what I'm seeing is it's still Michigan is still -1.5. However, there's more Arizona money and the line's not coming down.
Interesting.
So maybe a slight Michigan indication in other places, right? But it's marginal compared to a lot of other games.
All right, it's fascinating. The first game that's going to tip off just after 3:00, UConn and Illinois. The line is the same, 1.5 points. Illinois is the favorite. What have you seen from opening line up until now?
Yeah, so again, opened at 1.5. Illinois did briefly touch 2.5 early in the week, Monday or so, and then it went back to 1.5, and it's stayed at 1.5 since then. Like Arizona, we are about 3-1 high on Illinois money, and that seems to be more of a trend across the country as a whole. It seems that Illinois is garnering, 65-70% of the money from what I'm hearing and seeing at pretty much every spot. So, the fact that line's not going up while they are getting money, might be a little indicator that UConn could be the play.
Well, why do you think Illinois is getting some public love out there? Is that because they the way that they've played, or is it because they look at UConn and look at their pathway to where they've gotten to the Final Four and the fortunate events against Duke, and maybe they see UConn as a bit more fraudulent than the other 3 teams that are in?
I think it's a combination. They have won every game by double digits. UConn, if you want to look at it that way, they're scraping by, a lot of these games and stuff. Doesn't really feel like they should necessarily belong anymore. And then also I think, the media's done a really good job touching of how many Illinois fans there are going to be at the Final Four, with it being in Indianapolis. So I think they're going to have, a much larger backing fan base there. So I think those reasons are why we're seeing that.
I wonder, too, you and I were talking about this. I know UConn gets love because Dan Hurley's considered like the best coach, but I do think there's something to that, right? You mentioned this to me earlier where if you give a guy like Hurley extra preparation time going into a national semifinal, I just feel like he's going to be better prepared than most coaches in the country.
Yeah. I mean, even they were a 30-point underdog, going into this game, and you gave him the week off. I bet he could cut that down to 15, by the time the game goes off. But yeah, he's just, like we said, he's a lunatic, but he knows what he's doing. He's a damn good coach.
All right, so indicator-wise, of the two games, if I'm hearing you correctly, it would sound like UConn might be the best play as an underdog in this first game coming up against Illinois.
I would agree with that. That's what my gut is kind of getting from the different reads here.
That's interesting. Very interesting. So the money that you're taking on Illinois here is similar to what we're seeing across the country then?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
It seems, like I said, the Arizona-Michigan, not so lopsided from what I've seen, but Illinois definitely seems to be the favored team of that matchup.
Okay, so one thing I was going to ask you, and you would maybe have some experience on this, but these people that buy future tickets that have a pretty sizable payout, sometimes the sports book will come to you and offer you hey, we'll buy your ticket from you for a price. How do you make a decision on when to sell the ticket or to hold on to it?
It's tough, What
would you do?
I'm usually in the boat of don't hedge.
Yeah.
However, I mean, I guess every person's different, right? If you have like a life-changing payout or the biggest bet you're going to win all time, I don't see a problem with hedging, a certain amount. But I'm not one of those people who I'm not going to go in and hedge 50% of the payout, to even it up.
Yeah.
Especially when you had such good odds on one of the teams that's now a favorite.
Yeah.
But again, so the hedging thing and like selling futures is one of the all-time arguments that the guests have in the sports book. I have been asked hundreds of times, like, what would you do? What do you think? And there's no right or wrong answer, everyone has their, but for me personally, I don't like the idea of hedging because, I mean, how many times do you hedge and then your original bet ends up winning, anyway? And
it happens all the time.
And then you kind of feel crappy about that. So I don't know. It's a tough question for sure, but I lean on, if I do hedge, I'm only probably hedging, 10-20% of my potential payout. And I still want to cheer for the team that I've had the future on, pretty significantly.
We're talking with Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. All right, I did something for you. I had Dan Dickau, former Gonzaga Bulldog and former Prairie Falcon, on the show earlier this week, and I asked him a question specifically for you, and this came off of our discussion where you were pretty excited because you saw the documentary on Gonzaga, and we were talking about who are the players that kind of are the all-time greats from Gonzaga from way back in like 99 when they started this run up into what we see now. And so I asked Dan Dickau that question. Let's take a listen. I want to get your reaction to it. Oh, by the way, one other question, just to settle a little conversation I was having. Justin Ballinger, he's the sportsbook manager at Spirit Mountain Casino. He went to Gonzaga. He loves the Zags. He wanted to make sure I told you that you're awesome. He's a big fan of yours. But we were talking, and, you take John Stockton out of it because that was before Gonzaga became kind of this preeminent tournament team. But who's like the face of Gonzaga basketball during this resurgence of the program? Would it be Suggs? Would it be Santangelo? Is it you? Like, who do you look at as kind of the guy that kind of fits that at the top of the order of all the guys who have come through?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because I look at it in a couple different kind of stretches, right? I look at that Santangelo Fromm group as the originators.
Yes.
Myself in the 2 years I played, we were the guys that made sure it didn't go down.
Yep.
And we kept ascending. And then Adam Morrison, really kind of got the national limelight on the program because he was National Player of the Year with J.J. Redick. Kelly Olynyk was the first team that was ranked number one in the country. But I think any of those guys, but then, it's Domantas Sabonis is hard to go against.
Yes.
Shemet Karnowski, maybe he didn't have the pro career, but just how good he was for so long and the teams that he was on. You're kind of getting me kind of reminiscent about how many good players have gone through.
A ton.
It's amazing. I think behind Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, I believe there's the most NBA players right now that are currently from Gonzaga.
That's awesome.
You could throw Drew Timmy's name in that mix. Just because of what he did for 4 years.
Ultra productive.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Have you seen the documentary on Gonzaga yet?
I have, yeah. So there was a premiere of it up in Spokane a couple days before.
Sweet.
It was released on that Tubi platform. So I took my sons there, and there was a couple hundred people. You know, former players, current players, a lot of people that are very well connected to the program. It was a really cool event, and I thought the producer did a great job with that
Me too.
documentary. It was really good.
Yeah, I was wondering what you thought. All right, there you go. What'd you think about his answer?
That's awesome. I love that. It's so awesome to hear from, one of the pillars of the program and get his thoughts on it. And like we talked about last week, it's so hard to group it into one, one era, one player. Because you had you originators, the guys who had to keep it up.
Yeah.
Then you had some of the National Player of the Year stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I still go back to I feel like Gonzaga's gotten all the 5-stars and the big recruits and transfers in the last 6-7 years that they weren't getting before that. But I still love what they did with the guys like Kelly Olynyk or Rui Hachimura. Guys that they got and they just develop them, and every year, or the redshirt year, just get better and better. Then all of a sudden, it's a surefire first round NBA.
I forgot
pick.
about Hachimura.
I know. I made sure I had to mention him this time because I definitely forgot him last time. And so I mean, it's just it's hard. It's a very hard question to give one answer, but that's an awesome answer from Dan there, and that's very cool of you.
I just think it's great that, the school, we were talking about this, like how important the tournament is, or getting some national exposure for the schools, like High Point this year. Like, they came out of nowhere and got all this attention. Imagine what that does for enrollment, right?
Yeah.
And you were telling me that, like the cost of education, the enrollment at Gonzaga since they've made their mark in the tournament year after year, like it's transformed the school.
Absolutely. I don't have, the exact figures, but, even so my first year there was 2010, and, they were even talking to us at our student orientation about what our enrollment, how much larger it was than 10 years ago in 2000.
Yeah.
And just what the national exposure of the college basketball brand has really brought the school. And actually, Spokane as a city,
Yeah, it's great. All right, so the two games, everything you need is right here at Spirit Mountain Casino. They've got the in-game betting on the kiosk machines, parlays, teasers, totals, futures, and it's all right here, and the games are going to tip off just after 3 o'clock, and then the Arizona-Michigan game will tip off just before 6. But come down and join us here, open seating, and you've got 10 Barrel Brewing and the Stadium Bar right next door where you can get something to eat. And what Justin said is he has no idea. It's too hard to pick between Arizona and Michigan, but the indicators would lean UConn in the first matchup with Illinois.
Yeah, absolutely. If I have to choose a team here, my gut is saying UConn's probably the closest thing to a right side that we have today.
Well, good. Well, man, I appreciate you having me down, and thanks for coming on the show again. And I know that the tournament, I love talking tournament with you because I know how close it is to your heart, man. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun, especially when the tournament ends up being as good as you hope it would be, and I think that's what we've gotten so far this year.
All right, good. We'll keep things rolling. We'll come back, and we'll put the finishing touches on this. My giveaways, if you're coming down, I'll have those around 3:45. So I've got some goodies for you because I care about people. But the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino, where the action never stops, it's your place to bet on sports. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Boy, we are watching a barn burner of an NBA basketball game right now. The Nuggets have just tied it up at 124 with 6.2 on the clock. Spurs, Nuggets, and San Antonio has just called timeout to take the final shot. But what a game. What an awesome basketball game this has been. One of the better regular seasons games I've seen. And so now 6.2 on the clock, timeout. Spurs will have a chance, but what a great the inbound play by the Nuggets. They get it to Jokic, and he draws a double team, and Gordon finds himself wide open at the rim for the jam. And now the Spurs will get the final shot, so we might get some bonus overtime. 33 points, 13 assists for Jokic. We may get some overtime here. A nice little basketball primer before the Final Four kicks off here. Just after 3 o'clock. And as we talked to Justin Ballinger, he thinks of all the opportunities that UConn, based on indicators and what he has seen, would be the best play. UConn plus the points against Illinois. So that's the first game. Tip-off scheduled officially at 3:09. And then after that, we get the barn burner with Michigan and Arizona, the 2 1 seeds that are matching up. A lot of people look at that as kind of the de facto national championship game, but we'll see if Dan Hurley and his crew can get it done. But right now, 6.2 on the clock, 124-124. Spurs 25-2 in their last 27 games. They've won 11 straight. The Nuggets have won 7 straight games, and now they're setting up for the final shot. And the Nuggets have done a good job of continuing to battle in this second half. The Spurs have led for most of the game and have been in control, but the Nuggets have been strong here in the second half. So we'll see if they can get the stop and force overtime. Stephen Castle is going to inbound the basketball, and he gets it into Victor Wembanyama atop the circle. He's on Aaron Gordon, and here's Wembanyama taking a shot. He missed, and we're headed to overtime. Wow. That ball rattled around the rim and off. Aaron Gordon playing good defense there. This is going to be awesome. Little overtime action in the NBA. It's great basketball. But I appreciate your time today. It's been a lot of fun, and I actually had a chance. I'm pretty happy about this, too. Michael Allen Harrison, a good friend and someone I respect a great deal, he reached out to me. He has got this studio set up, and he was talking to me about the technology because he's been working on a couple of items. And I said, you should invite me over so I can take a look at your setup. And he said, let's make it happen sooner rather than later. I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm absolutely in on that. So pretty excited about that. But, yeah, it's been a great day. Enjoyed the drive down, the sunshine. You got to love that. And I'm excited about the Final Four. I like these 4 teams that are in, and I think we're going to get big-time matchups. And that's what it's all about for me. One other thing I wanted you to hear, we heard from Toumani Camara coming off that big win where he played so well and he got his name in the box, and he leads the NBA in offensive fouls drawn, which is amazing. He's been terrific. But Tiago Splitter talked about Toumani and what he means to the team, and just the way he sets the tone. Take a listen to Tiago. High praise from him for Toumani Camara. At least I think we're going to hear from Tiago. Tiago, Coach Tiago.
Coach, how would you describe what Toumani not only brought today, but just brings in general on defense?
I mean, he's the guy that sets the tone for our whole defense. Him and Donovan, but I think he's always an point of attack there, and just do everything he can to get stops, to rebound, to push the ball, play the right way, to lead them on the timeouts. It's great to see a guy like that just flourishing doing those things.
What about for him offensively? 6 threes tonight. Seems like that's the shots really come around for him lately.
Yeah, I mean, when he's playing with that confidence, just let it fly. Don't even second guess him. He's a zone type of thing, mental zone where he's just hooping and getting stopped, and it's amazing to see.
Is there a skill in drawing those offensive fouls and charges like he does?
Definitely. I think there's a skill, there's a technique, there's a desire, an effort to do that every night.
He put his name in the box?
He got the box, he got the ball, he got the whole thing tonight.
The ball?
Yeah, he bought a game.
What is that?
He said, what's the record?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I think he sets the record of the NBA of drawn fouls or something like that.
You acknowledged it after the game?
Yeah.
What was the reaction like?
I mean, the guys just love him because he's, the ultimate competitor, and everybody sees it. And like I say, every pregame, I'm like, set the tone. You set the tone on defense for us. We're going to be good.
Is there part of his sort of style that's took you a little while to adjust to? Because, he's coming off a screen hard and, like, smashing into someone's shoulder and kind of, he's sometimes behind the play because the way it was, like, did it take you a while to be like, okay, this is what he does, I got to settle in with it?
Not really. I think when you see effort, when you see their eyes focus and just trying to win basketball games, you go over that. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he's, a great defender. So
it wasn't like scheme breaking and you were like, oh, come on.
No, that's part of the scheme. That's how we should defend every, off-ball screen.
Is there anybody you played with that reminds you of him?
Yeah, but you guys probably don't know him. Chapo Nocioni, Argentinian guy that played in the Argentina national team. He played for the Bulls a little bit, but played with me in Spain. Play hard, defensive mind, and could shoot the ball as well, like a dog on defense.
Same three guys off the bench, Chris, Matisse, and Rob, that kind of had the same impact that they had the other night. How big have those three been, and just the bench in general?
Matisse is being unbelievable. I mean, he's plus 21, making shots, steals, deflections. I think he got 8 deflections. So he's a pass there on defense. Just like Toumani, a little different, a little bit more, mobile, a little bit more on the passing lanes and stuff instead of being physical like Toumani. So a little different, but also very effective.
What do you see from Matisse as an offensive player? Because the book on him his whole career has been, obviously everyone knows what he does defensively, but offense, it's like he's either people think he doesn't really give you much, or that's just not something you think about with him. What do you kind of see from him on that?
I don't see that. He's a super smart player, can shoot the basketball, can drive, can do the right plays every time. He doesn't force anything. He played 30 minutes. We being careful with his minutes now, coming back, being out for a while. So, if I could play 40, I would play him 40 tonight.
There's Tiago Splitter talking about his guys. Matisse Thybulle has been sensational. And this NBA game right now between the Nuggets and Spurs is sensational. Nuggets a 1-point lead in overtime, 3:22 to go, 128-127. And these two teams are just throwing haymakers at each other right now. And what I love about these late-season NBA games where the players really care, you're seeing, just like we saw in the Clipper-Blazer game, we got guys flying around. Jamal Murray just put himself in the third row to save a ball, and it resulted in a Nuggets basket. And Aaron Gordon and Wembanyama going head-to-head is just awesome. Those two guys are going head-to-head. De'Aaron Fox, another air ball. 2 air balls in the last 3 minutes for De'Aaron Fox, put in tough situations at the end of the shot clock. And now the Nuggets get the ball back up 1, 3:07 to play, and a chance to maybe create a little separation. But, watching the Nuggets, the two-man game, when they run it, and they're doing it now with Jokic and Murray, it's fun to watch because these guys, Jokic is so smart with the basketball. And Murray, they just understand each other. And Murray just put up a 3 and left it short. So now the Spurs come back. I mean, these two teams are getting up and down. The pacing and stuff is wild. Champagne's been big. Here's Wembanyama attacking. And we have a missed shot. Now a bucket. Now a rebound. This is wild. All right, big thanks to Michael Shacker. He is my right-hand man, and I love him. He engineered today's program. Big thanks to Dan Dickow, Sean Heiken, and Justin Ballinger. Get down here and join me. I got my giveaways. I'll do around 3:45, but the Final Four is the best. All right, you got to love it. 2 games are going to be great tonight, and then I'll have the giveaways for jump into the driver's seat or spring into the driver's seat. They're going to give away a Stingray at the end of the month, and the top winner from the daily drawings here at Spirit Mountain Casino, all brought back at the end of the month for a chance to win the 2026 Stingray. All right, you guys have a great night. Enjoy it. And get down here to Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. I'll be back here Monday, 10 to 1, another special edition of the Rip City Drive.